Hey everybody, it's Matty here with Altcoin Buzz on this Thursday, and today we're taking a look at the variables that may have caused the most recent price massacre. And in this post-mortem, one thing that we've uncovered is that the hash rate may have played a big factor, or at least a bigger one than we previously expected. We'll take a look at that from a couple of different perspectives. We ask, why the $1,100 plunge? So that's one of the reasons that we'll examine. Then we have some updates in the news by way of UTrust and Digibyte coin from a couple of different angles there. We're then talking quantum computing. Google, of course, as you may have heard, has come out and they've been discussing their quantum computing breakthrough. That certainly affects the world of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and SHA-256 algorithms. It really affects everything if you think about it. Forbes is also covering the story. Google's quantum computing breakthrough brings blockchain resistance into the spotlight again. Some people are worried, not me. I'll let you know why. And then we have some updates by way of crypto.com. Pay checkout plugin is now available to 500,000 new merchants, so that's some great news there. And we'll end the video today with this piece about Ripple, which now has more access to the Middle East, which is good news. But let's begin with the snapshot of the market. Things are up ever so slightly, but don't get too excited. That's only relative to really the bottom that we saw yesterday at this time. $222 billion total market cap, dominance at 68.2%. And I don't know, there's nothing really to report as far as prices. Things are flat, as you can see, up marginally. So a very, very slight bounce over the lowest of lows yesterday. But we're still suffering. We're still down quite a bit recently. All you got to do is look at the 7-day chart to find evidence of that. So looking back, why are we down, you may ask? Well, at Altcoin Buzz News tweeted the following. Prior to the launch of Bakkt, the Bitcoin hash rate had plummeted. I wasn't aware myself. Let's take a closer look and scrutinize the development and its relation to the crash of Bitcoin. You can read about it on altcoinbuzz.io. And here it is, the Bitcoin hash rate plummeted. A closer look article by Ethereum examining the Bitcoin hash rates plummet. So there is an ongoing speculation about why the Bitcoin price has plummeted, and we are taking a closer look at one of those potential explanations. So as Ethereum points out, there may well be a correlation between the sudden nosedive of the Bitcoin hash rate and the launch of the Bakkt platform. However, there is evidence one way or another that primary Bitcoin mining operations located in Canada and Kyrgyzstan have also suffered power outages. Currently, the Bitcoin hash rate seems to have returned to its pre-flash crash levels. It seems like a couple weeks ago we were talking about how the hash rate had been hitting its all-time highs, at least in 2019. And so it was a big surprise to enthusiasts like us to see the total computing power mining the Bitcoin network suddenly crash by almost 40%. And if you think about it, a 40% crash in terms of hash rate is even more pronounced than the price crash that we saw in these last 36, 48 hours or so. The hash rate fell from more than 98 million terahashes to a meager 57.7 million. And how do you explain that? Well, there have been power outages in Kyrgyzstan as well as Canada, where Squire Mining Limited has also gone offline due to the power outage in Kyrgyzstan. The latest information seems to suggest that the power outage is expected to last between 10 and 14 days while Squire Mining's hosting provider upgrades its system. It's a long time. Now, the question still remains, does this have anything to do with Bakkt? It's obviously synchronized in a certain way that makes it look suspicious, but I'm not sure. I haven't heard any evidence to suggest it definitively. What do you guys think about this? Is this just an unfortunate coincidence? It's hard to say at the moment. We also take a look at the price dive in this piece, Bitcoin Massacre, why the $1,100 plunge? This article by Deepika. Bitcoin price is crumbling. Is it Bakkt only, or is there another factor at play as well? Call it pure coincidence, writes Deepika. As soon as the Bakkt platform launched on the 23rd of September, Bitcoin's price started stumbling. Within minutes, the price started dropping at an even faster pace, and Bakkt got labeled as a big disappointment. Now, you may remember we talked about AVA Labs CEO Professor Amin the other day, and he had the following to say: if 30% of the hash rate disappears, it could indicate the network is under attack. And in light of such speculation, the exchanges and retailers might avoid avoid accepting Bitcoin if it further lowers to 51%. Now, we have no reason to believe that it is a network attack at this time, and whether it's just a coordinated set of power outages or something else, or an organic loss of interest following Bakkt, and then maybe that caused the decrease in hash rate, you never know. One way or another, that hash rate received a big hit, and sometimes you get a chain reaction. Maybe it was the outages in Canada and Kyrgyzstan initially that kicked things off, and then in response to some of the numbers, some of the unfortunate metrics, more and more people kind of reacted in kind and similarly. That's how human psychology works, unfortunately, sometimes. There was also some movement of large amounts of Bitcoin to the tune of 10,000 Bitcoin between wallets, but I wouldn't hypothesize that that really had much to do as far as this recent crash. However, as with anything, people don't like to look at problems as being multivariate, in that they like to look at something and attribute one cause to a situation. They say, well, Bakkt launched on September 23rd, prices crashed right after, therefore it's Bakkt's fault, or it was at least associated with Bakkt. In reality, problems are multivariate in real life, and I think it was a combination of different things. That's what we know for the time being. If I'm not listing something, or if there's something else that you have at the top of mind, please let us know about it in the comments below. Moving on to Twitter here, we have this update from @UTrust. Awesome news. You can officially pay with Digibyte coin, DGB, through the UTrust payment processor with all our merchants and with our new merchant, iperfumes.com. The family keeps growing. Digibyte also updated similarly @Digibyte coin. Thanks to UTrust for enabling Digibyte cryptocurrency payments with all their merchants. Another big step for DGB and cryptocurrency adoption. You can read about that here on medium.com. Exponential merchant network growth opportunity with clever advertising. And we're looking now at this piece on news.bitcoin.com. What Google's quantum breakthrough means for blockchain cryptography. Of course, we've been warned for years that a quantum computing breakthrough is just around the corner. Quantum computing and AI, it always seems like it's 5-10 years off. When that day comes, we're told it could render existing encryption standards obsolete, threatening the security of every major blockchain. It seems that day has finally arrived, with Google achieving quantum supremacy. Impressive as the feat is, however, it doesn't signal game over to crypto networks, at least not yet. And for all we know, and now that I think about it, this announcement by Google also kind of was synchronized with the release of Bakkt, and around the same time at least. Maybe a combination of factors, including this release from Google, was enough to scare people into selling, at least some of the bigger players in the space. So again, like I said, multivariate problems, but I digress. Let's dive into this quantum issue. Okay, so Google announced that using a quantum computer, there was a team that managed to perform a calculation in just over 3 minutes that would have otherwise taken the world's most powerful supercomputer 10,000 years. In an industry that's characterized by incremental improvements, that sounds like a leap that warrants comparisons with the Big Bang, and it's known as quantum supremacy, which the researchers claim to have attained. And Google described the achievement as a, quote, milestone towards full-scale quantum computing, and predicted quantum computing capacity to expand at a double exponential rate, outstripping the exponential rate that Moore's law has described so faithfully for decades. If you're unfamiliar with Moore's law, it's the idea that for the same about $1,000 worth of purchasing power, you're going to be able to double your processing or computing power with every year that goes by and technological improvements are made in a more or less free market computing economy and industry. Johan Polachek, the CTO of quantum-resistant blockchain Ken, told news.bitcoin.com, quote, the most popular public key algorithms are theoretically at risk of being broken by a quantum computing breakthrough. Most encrypted data interpreted and stored today could be decrypted by quantum computers in the near future. Well, of course he's going to say that. He's the quantum-resistant guy, right? That's his shtick. On Google's quantum computer, believed to be called Sycamore, Polachek ventured, quote, the notion of Google achieving a quantum breakthrough sounds very dramatic, but in reality, it's hard to gauge the significance at this time. How can we be sure that Google's quantum computer is a more powerful one than D-Wave's, for example, which surpassed 1,000 qubits 4 years ago? Andrew Yang, U.S. Democratic presidential candidate, is all about artificial intelligence and quantum computing and this kind of stuff. He suggests that the threat is real. Quote, quantum computers using qubits will theoretically be able to perform the calculations necessary to break our current encryption standards in under a day. When that happens, all of our encrypted data will be vulnerable, and that means means our businesses, communications, channels, and banking and national security systems may be accessible. And that's kind of how I look at it. If you really have some kind of an over-the-top, hyper-powered quantum computing system, I mean, forget about blockchain and cryptocurrency, to be honest. Every aspect of your life is going to be known by some type of processing intelligence, bank records, passwords. Every nuclear launch code at the NORAD bases and elsewhere can theoretically be solved at that point as well. So I think really we have more to worry about than blockchain and cryptocurrency. However, that's just my opinion. Yang notes that, quote, some estimates put the timeline for this at a decade or less. In short, this is a problem that has to be fixed now. First and immediately, we need to invest in and develop new encryption standards and systems, and immediately shift to using these quantum computing resistant standards to protect our most sensitive data. You have others like Chris Paccia, who suggested that encryption is safe and that it's not a threat just yet to quantum computing, at least at this level that we've seen. He said, quote, if every one of the 7 billion people on Earth had 10 supercomputers each testing 1 billion key combinations per second, it would take the entire population that many years to find a single 128-bit AES key. There's different examples here and some numbers for those more quantitatively inclined if you want to check that out. Let us know what you think about this. I think it's more doom and gloom at the moment than anything tangible, and it's like the early versions of artificial intelligence, at least from what I understand, that were able to, in a very narrow sense, beat the world chess masters such as Garry Kasparov. That doesn't mean that they're more intelligent or more comprehensively capable than a human mind just yet. This seems to be, again, from what I understand, a narrow application of this calculation that took 3 minutes instead of 10,000 years. But I'm not a computer scientist, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Forbes is also talking about this. It's gotten their attention. Google's quantum computing breakthrough brings blockchain resistance into the spotlight again. In other news, we have this update by crypto.com. Their pay checkout plugin is now available for 50,000 WooCommerce merchants. No fees for crypto payment processing in the first 6 months. That's great news. You can check out the information about that here. Crypto.com pay checkout plugin now available for 500,000 WooCommerce merchants. Enable cryptocurrency payments for your WooCommerce online shops. And of course, their website is crypto.com. In the news, I'll just mention this in passing without getting into it, but Ripple gets more access now to the Middle East, which is good news. Article here by David. Ripple sets sights on tapping into the financial markets in the Middle East, partnering with the National Bank of Fujairah and expanding its reach globally. That about wraps it up for the news today, everybody. Do be sure you are following us on all the regular social media channels and keep checking back into altcoinbuzz.io for all the latest. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell to receive notifications. Have a great Thursday, though, everybody. Best of luck, of course, if you choose to invest. And as always, we hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.